Can you hear us? Hello, people out there in studio world.
Yes, we'll start again. Can you hear us now,
We
everybody?
can indeed.
For some
Hooray!
bizarre reason, unmuted our microphone. It got muted again of its own accord, and we were just talking before we came on air about internet gremlins. So watch out for internet gremlins. Watch out for random cats lurking around the studio. This is Together Unlocked, brought to you on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 3 to 4 p.m. by Together 2012, the Disability Arts Organisation. I'm Ju Gosling, also known as Ju90. I'm an artist and artistic director of Together 2012. With me in my London studio is our chair, the artist Julie Newman. We'll come back to us in a minute for a bit of audio description, but first of all, we will go over to the other end of our long virtual sofa in the West Midlands for some introductions and some audio description.
Hi, I'm Josh Surgeonator. I'm one of the hosts of Together Unlocked TV, and I am a doctoral research student. Um, I have squeaky clean, and it is literally squeaky clean, blonde hair, slightly unshaven face, and I'm wearing a blue and white collared polo shirt.
Okay. So, hi, I'm Robin Surgeonator, the final co-host of Together TV Unlocked, or Together Unlocked TV. Um, one of them.
It's
Up here in Sutton Coldfields. Good job. I'm new to this, isn't it? Today I am using my name in his extended version of Robinson Crusoe, with my slightly wayward hairstyle and a distinct lack of shaving. I decided, because it is my birthday today, I could have a lazy day. So, with that in mind, although having already done some training sessions this morning, I am wearing silver rimmed glasses. My hair is white and grey. I am wearing well, I've worn it before, a Los Angeles round neck t shirt with a kind of fit picture with lots of sky and clouds, and then the Hollywood something or other. It's kind of a very indistinct picture, but it is a blue t shirt, Los Angeles on the front, and just creeping over the shoulders is the white back.
Get any more wayward looking, you're going to start calling me Wilson.
So we didn't know it was your birthday. You've kept that one quiet, but that excuses a lot. But back in London, Julie, a bit more of an introduction and some audio description.
Hi, happy birthday, Robin, and happy Monday. I'm Julie Newman. I have silver and gold hair. I have dark rimmed glasses. I have now quite a much worn T-shirt, which is a white background saying "Choose love, choose love."
Lovely. I have very short, corona cropped, hennaed red hair, black framed glasses, black wrist braces, silver jewellery, and I have a purple t shirt on saying, "We know inclusion works." And that is a t shirt from the very wonderful Alfie campaign, which is the Alliance for Inclusive Education. And I think we might end up saying a bit more about Alfie later in the show. But in the meantime, every Friday we have a feature called Something for the Weekend, and we just pick up again on Monday just one or two of those things that you've done online over the weekend.
Do you want me to start?
Why not?
We watched some lovely films, very very good films. Beg your pardon. Got overexcited then.
Ocean's 8, Farmageddon.
That's it. Farmageddon was wonderful. I loved it. It was so much fun, and I do think that those creations, the whole Shaun the Sheep, and sort of all of those are just so clever. And when you think about the filming techniques, they're I think they're very inspirational. Actually, I listened to the Formula One. I imagine Josh will tell us about it because he saw the highlights. My guess is. I didn't. I listened to it on the radio. And it was a bit of a problem actually trying to get it streamed. So I had a little bit of anxiety at the beginning, but I thought it was a good. I thought it was a good race, Josh, overall.
Yeah, no, Yeah, we agree. We managed to watch it on I say managed, carved out a time to watch the highlights on Channel 4 yesterday evening. Um, even though it was kind of back to back, they raced on the same track last weekend. There's all this, is it going to be the same? Is it going to be really boring? Entirely different races. Both still really entertaining, both still really interesting. But yeah, completely different kind of days.
Yeah, I mean, and qualifying on Saturday was amazing. Hamilton's drive in the wet to suddenly be 1.2 seconds, which if you're not into motor racing, you go and but for anyone who is, 1.2 seconds on a qualifying lap in form,
essentially.
It's
much water.
Quite astonishing.
We've talked before, haven't we, about the drama and theatre than there is in sport, and you've got to find that drama and live theatre where you can at the moment. And I think racing is probably as close to live theatre as we will get for some time to come. I think one of the things we're really enjoying with the films is just the fact that you can see up-to-date films on subscription TV without paying more than your basic subscription. So Prime in particular have had a whole bunch of films that are 2020 films that have either had very short cinema runs or haven't been able to go into the cinema because it's just so complicated, including having to make arrangements for the assistance dogs. We very rarely go to the cinema, so being able to see brand new films at home has been an amazing treat. So I can't honestly say, much as I would like to see it on a big screen, that even if there was no coronavirus, it's just actually so much nicer to be able to chill out and watch it at home and make your own popcorn and get your own sweets out and probably do all sorts of things that would be really good for the economy if I was spending lots of money up the road, but I'm enjoying doing it at home. What else did you do, Robin?
Did well, as I said, I watched the qualifying. I actually went out with Emily and we went on a 3-mile push just around the local streets, took in a couple of big hills that nearly killed me. And actually, I've been listening to a few old bits of music actually on my Apple Music. I mean, I've got this huge collection on there, and I even put the record player on very briefly on Saturday. So we just sort of, I wasn't so much online. That being said, I did spend quite a lot of time having to organise all our return to swimming stuff, which is a bit of an ongoing project, which has its own worries, but in terms of the actual practicalities of it and getting everybody sorted into pods, that's kind of going well. And then just chilling, to be honest.
Well, I think there's, as we've often said, there is nothing wrong with just chilling. Yeah, I mean, apart from anything else, we've done a little bit of gardening, we've done a few chores. I think it's been about having a bit of a rest as well over the weekend. I felt that I'd really got quite overburdened. I'd done too much work, too many weekends. And I think once you get overtired, then I think the whole coronavirus thing really gets on top of you. So sometimes you've just got to go, actually, today I'm not going to do many chores, only the essential ones. And we're not going to do masses of cooking, but we are going to watch lots of films, and hopefully by Monday you feel ready to face the week again. We're going to talk in a minute about some of the changes that are coming in this week, including at last new guidance on social care and potentially compulsory masks in shops. And then we'll be talking, as we were last Monday, about filmmaking and the rest of our Join In From Home programme. This programme goes out 3 times a week as part of our Join In From Home programme, which you can find on our website, www.together2012.org.uk. We'll have a film coming up later that looks at some of the offers that we have, including the filmmaking, but also things like dancing. Later, we'll be talking to Hazel Brill. She's an international artist and, luckily for us, works 2 days a week as our youth development worker. So Hazel is going to be talking to us about some of the work that she's now doing online with young disabled people up to the age of 25. And Hazel's going to give us some information about some of her filmmaking techniques as well, isn't she?
She is. I just wanted to pick up something with Josh, if I may, about it sounds as if I'm flogging a dead horse, if I so choose to do so, but about the Formula One. I think one of the things that struck me, I was thinking about it over the weekend, was one, how inclusive Mercedes are trying to be. They put a woman up. And on Sunday, it was a black woman who went to receive the Makers Trophy. I think the other thing which has struck me considerably is how many younger drivers are coming through the ranks. I remember when Lewis Hamilton started, he was remarkable because I think he was one of the few younger drivers at that time that McLaren had brought on. And they'd identified him, and they sort of had tried to bring him on individually. But what it seems to me is I think there's a change in culture. Josh, what's your quick response to that?
Yeah, in terms of kind of Mercedes and their kind of being inclusive, yes, absolutely. I think it's not just a response to what's been going on recently as well. Even if you look at the stuff from last year, you know, they kind of put up whoever deserved to do it. You know, there's their kind of head strategist is a woman, and you know she went up to collect one of them last year, and they asked Toto Wolff, the manager, about it, and he's like, well, she earned it. She made a pretty confident call to go to a risky strategy. It paid off, and we won, so she deserves it. You know,
Yeah, I
sorry.
was gonna say I'd like to bring it back to the arts here, but I always think it's interesting how behind many fields of the arts are, behind absolutely everything else, whether that's sport or any kind of sport, really, retail, business. I found myself over the last few years being invited to give talks about diversity to organizations that I would never have considered to be interested, meaning very high powered, city based financial organizations in the sort of broadest sense, including being invited to go and speak at an event at the Tower of London, which is not something that had been part of my experience before. And unfortunately, it's always struck me how much more clued up they are than we are in the arts. Together 2012 is what's known as the National Portfolio Organisation of Arts Council England. We were founded only in 2013 to take forward the Paralympic cultural legacy in the main host borough of East London. And we became a national portfolio organisation in the latest funding round, which I think was only 2018, wasn't it? But what was noticeable is that I think only about 5% of workers funded by the Arts Council are disabled according to the Equality Act, whereas about 15%, possibly 20% of the workforce are count as disabled under the Equality Act. And that figure has been very, very flat for sort of over 10, 15 years because people aren't getting those opportunities and they're leaving it again. So I think when we've often talked about the links between sport and the arts, it's very well worth looking at. We have to challenge ourselves, not just on issues around disability, but very much around race, culture, class, all kinds of diversity. So, yes, I think we should be looking at Mercedes and saying, well, let's make sure with all this public money that the government has just committed to the arts, that money is being spent on all of us.
But I think it's the underlying problem is that arts have been quite deliberately squeezed further and further out of the national curriculum. So if you go to a state secondary school, the chance of doing any meaningful art is almost non-existent. Yes, their qualifications still exist, but they're not core subjects anymore. And yes, if you do learn an instrument or you might be okay at painting, you might choose it. But in terms of it being a kind of, a foundational element of learning, it's just not there anymore because it's not seen as a way that ordinary people should be able to have careers. It's only for, well, I'll leave it at that.
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, one of the things we'll be talking about with Hazel Brill, our youth development worker, is the Arts Award programme, which is a parallel series of arts qualifications that young people can study for. I won't preempt that discussion, but I'm sure you're right. If you haven't been able to access the arts as career options in school, and of course, you look at the salaries and the sort of dire career prospects. We have young artists that we're working with who are actually saying, I'm thinking of changing profession. And I find that very sad that somebody's chosen subjects at 16, they've chosen subjects at 18, at 21, they've chosen to do postgrad. And now they're having to take a good hard look and say, well, actually.
I mean, but, we've had our own discussions, much as I love being a swimming coach, and an opportunity came up that was kind of happenstantial. Actually, we talked that it became a necessity because they just couldn't get money and enough work, and austerity. From 2010, the cut is unbelievable. And in fact, when we were out on our walk the other day, there was a poster on a local post box that said that youth services, in its broadest sense, but youth services have been cut 71% since 2010. I mean, that's just astonishing. It's horrendous. It's like, well, you go look after yourself, and it doesn't take any account of the reality of people's lives who are just everyday folks.
That's absolutely right. And I think, we've talked before about the campaign that Together have launched locally in the London Borough of Newham. It's our Young Black Lives Matters campaign. What we've established is that across London boroughs, an average of 3% of young people under the age of 25 have an education and healthcare plan. And that recognises that they've got needs relating to learning difficulties, long-term health conditions, mental health difficulties, and it gives them a whole range of extra support right up until the age of 25, including now, being targeted in terms of laptop provision and access to broadband and so on. In Newham, just 0.7% of our young people have those plans. And we've done the maths, and we reckon that's at least 1,500 young people under the age of 18 who should have an education and healthcare plan and who don't. It's actually pointless to increase youth provision locally without targeting those young people, because number one, they're the young people who are actually at risk, not the young people who are doing really, really well. But also, if you don't reach out to them, you can't make any difference in their lives. And if they haven't got one-to-one support, they can't take part in the activities. So activities are put on very much on the basis locally that there's a really kind of deep desire to make up for the cuts. But the young people who need it most are not able to access them because, quite frankly, you couldn't have them in the building without one-to-one support, because their needs have gone unrecognised and unmet for such a long time. They're seen as criminal, they're seen as badly behaved, they're seen as choosing a particular lifestyle. And, the reality is, sadly, in any other borough, they'd be recognised as disabled. And that's not to say that healthcare plans are easy to come by. Probably twice as many young people nationally would benefit from one and qualify for one if they could get one. But it's an incredibly low number in Newham. And because the vast majority of our young people are young people of colour, that's why it's our Young Black Lives Matter campaign. But I think in terms of things like the arts, again, the more disadvantaged you are, the more dependent you are on the state sector, the less access you've got. And of course, that impacts on careers. But I think it doesn't explain everything in the arts. I think if we had more initiatives like Mercedes, you would have much better retention. And, and I think recruitment is one issue, but retention is a whole other issue. I'm going to stop talking now, Julie.
No, don't. I mean, I think, but it's. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, kind of going on from Julie's original question, it strikes me that it's a culture at Mercedes. I don't know the inner workings of the team or anything. From seeing how Lewis Hamilton speaks about them and the support that he gets from them, it doesn't strike me as kind of the tokenistic thing. It looks like that's the ethos of the team, and that's what we need in every sector. Because if we get to that point, then these conversations are less or aren't needed to happen, because it isn't something we have to work on or something we need to do. It's just expected. It's the standard that everyone gets the support that they need and is valued.
But I think that's the big difference is that someone, I should imagine most Formula One teams, but is that their rationale is about innovation and change and improvement. That's what they exist for. And so therefore someone coming along with fresh ideas, things, creations that challenge the status quo are seen as good. Whereas I know full well, just in my own career, my own, interviews I've been for with arts organizations, when you just know that they're not going to, by the time you've had the interview, you're teaching them in the interview about what they're supposed to be employing you for. And then they don't want you because you're too much of a challenge, because you will present a problem because it amplifies what they're doing not as well as they could.
I think you're right. I mean, it makes me smile, but it's true that creative organisations can be absolutely the worst at being flexible and responding creatively and just taking things as a challenge. But I think Josh's word culture is absolutely right. We say on our website and indeed on our stationery, together we are strong, together we can change our world, disability art, culture, and human rights. And culture is very much the word. And I think the culture in retail changed considerably 20 years ago, when what underpins the Equality Act, the Disability Discrimination Act, first came in. Certainly, I remember my sister working at ASDA and all of them being able to quote the Equality Act at least as well as the organisations I was working for that were led by disabled people. And more recently, I think there's been corporate changes, but the cultural sector does seem to be the least kind of open to cultural shift. So it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen over the next couple of years when there's just so much upheaval. We featured the We Shall Not Be Removed campaign on this show 2 weeks ago, and I'm sure we will be featuring it again in the future. And that's a kind of cross genre, cross field, if you like, people from theatre, music, dance, visual art, museums, people from every sector of the arts coming together to say, post coronavirus, the gains that disabled people have made, both in terms of working in the arts and being included as audiences, mustn't be lost, and indeed should be put right at the centre of things going forward. But there does seem to be an awful lot of discussion in this country which almost takes for granted that disabled people are going to be left out. They finally released the social care guidance this morning for what happens if disabled people keep going back to day centres. So, any kind of day setting, really. So, that can mean all sorts of things, including the activities that we would usually run every weekday morning in East Ham. So, we have what we call our clubs programme, which is completely free for disabled people and whoever they want to bring with them. And those clubs run on a weekday morning, usually, obviously not at the moment, at the St Bart's Centre in East Ham. What you're looking at, if we went back tomorrow, is a very, very different setup. They're very clear that it's 2 metre plus distancing for people who, if you like, are vulnerable to illness, not 1 metre plus. As with schools, you need people to sit behind each other. So at the moment, we have one or two big tables and everybody sits around, but everybody would need their individual table. They wouldn't be able to face each other. They'd have to look at each other's backs. They'd have to have at least a 2 metre gap between them. You know, our team members, which is in fact mostly volunteers, but we also have 3 staff, including Hazel, who are funded now by the lottery. I think it's now called the Lottery Community Fund, but it's gone through a number of name changes, so I'm never quite sure. But we're very grateful to have that money from the lottery. But those workers effectively would have to have PPE on. if they were going to go and do the things that we would usually do, like show somebody how to make a pom-pom or show somebody how to use a piece of equipment, it would be a very, very different setting. And I'm not sure it's a setting that anybody would exactly welcome. I mean, all of the soft furnishings have to go, just like schools. So the sort of soft, comfy chairs, the throws, the cushions, all of that has to be replaced by things that you can wipe clean. They prefer people to organise their own transport. So instead of having people picked up by, say, dial-a-ride, people are supposed to get families to bring them in if they possibly can. And then it sort of very tellingly says, well, of course, we know the numbers you'll be able to cater for are going to go down. The hours you can provide for are going to go down because you're going to have to clean in between. They don't say that, of course, all of that pushes the costs up, but almost by default, it's making it impossible for services like ours to reopen in anything like the sort of short or medium term. It's difficult to know whether they could be offering anything else, but on the same day, the headlines say that social care workers are not going to be exempted from immigration rules. So if you're going to spread people out more, if you're going to bubble people, as we're learning to call it, if you're going to put people into different spaces, you need more social care workers. But we already have a social care workforce shortage. So it just seems to me what it's really setting people up to do is saying, if you're disabled, stay at home. And indeed, it actually says, well, of course, if people are in the shielding group, they may still not feel safe to come into daycare, because the basis of all the risk assessments is that infection may still take place. And that is really strange for me as an artistic director to be confronted with, because there's all sorts of extra guidance. If you're looking at cleaning, then you click onto another document. And if you look at catering, you click onto another document. I wouldn't do a risk assessment for fire that says at the end of the day, the building may burn down and everybody may die. And yet that is the starting point for the risk assessment according to the government. I'm sure it's not the starting point for the insurance company, but all of that I think is more confusing than anything else. Now, Robin, you've talked over the last couple of weeks about Sport England and how they're getting ready to sort of take swimming back. How do these two things compare?
Well, I can only, so Swim England rather than Sport England. I'm sure Sport England would obviously party to it, but the particular documents that I've been trolling through, and Josh has too, are from Swim England, and I've read everything from what I have to do as a coach and been on specific training courses about how to kind of behave in the coaching environment, through to looking at the operators' protocols. The chlorine levels are going to be, they've changed the standard chlorine level to a much higher level. Swimmers will be expected to turn up in swimming gear, in a onesie or something, and actually go home in wet swimming gear, so that they don't have, to use changing rooms. Specific instructions on toilets can only be used by one person at a time, if necessary. If they need to, try not to have to use the toilet. Obviously, that isn't, you can't always do that, but then they have to be sprayed down and stuff in between. And even that is in an environment where essentially, once the swimmer's been in the swimming pool, they are sanitized. Other than obviously if they expectorate, if they cough, that's different. But in terms of their, touching stuff, they all have to bring their own gear. Prior to lockdown, someone would go, I forgot my goggles, or I haven't got my snorkel, anyone got a spare one, blah, blah, whatever the bit of equipment with. Or, forgot my water bottle, can I have a sip of yours? All that stuff just cannot happen. Whether we wanted it to before or not, it now can't, and kids share things because they don't care. And then and we're going to have a really strict protocol that parents have to drop their children at a gate, where they'll be met with somebody holding a digital scanner thermometer thing, before they're even allowed onto the grounds where the pool is. And then there's a one-way circuit around that they have to go around in through one way, around the pool one way, They have their own changing station on the pool side, their own. So it's doing its best to minimize risk. And we have documents that they have to be signed weekly, confirming that they haven't been in touch with anybody with known positive results and stuff like that. So
I'm going to leave it there, but the one thing again it seems to reinforce to me is that the amount of extra paperwork, extra time, and extra staffing is not really going to bode well for anything that involves organising activities for disabled people, where you've almost got to double that again. However, we, as we have previously said, are having a digital year. We will simply be increasing and enhancing our digital offer as the months go on. We're all shielding, so we've got nowhere else to go apart from strictly organised visits to the swimming pool. So this is an opportunity to tell you a little bit more about our Join In From Home programme. Together 2012 is running a Join In From Home programme from our website, together2012.org.uk. Click on the link at the top of the page, Join In From Home, to go straight to the main page where you have a wide range of accessible, inclusive creative activities, mostly using things that you would already have at home. At the top of the page and throughout the pages, you will also see videos in British Sign Language to translate the site for deaf people. These videos can also be useful if you have difficulties reading and you simply want to hear more of the content. The Join In From Home programme is based on the activities that we would usually be running in East London. The dance club usually meets on the fourth Monday of each month, and they create improvised masked dance for the screen. Here you can also see their very first film, where they simply made masks from paper plates, covered themselves with fabric, and just moved gently to the music. You can hear as well there's an improvised soundtrack. So we're suggesting that you make a mask out of anything you can think of. It could be a cardboard box, a paper bag, a paper plate as in here. Video yourself dancing in it and then share the video with us. We will show it on screen and we will also enter it into the dance programme of our film festival, which we run every December. If you're temporarily or permanently chair-based, there's also a warm-up you can do here created by our associate wheelchair dance company Folk in Motion, and that focuses on relaxing your upper body and improving your breathing. The Photographers and Filmmakers Club usually meets on the second Monday of each month. We're inviting you to make a video at home with the theme of home and share it with us. You can use a phone or a camera, make any kind of film you wish, including drama, documentary, dance, animation, artist films, comedy, and they'll be eligible for a CAT award at our December Film Festival. You can also watch with us from home. In addition to Together 2012 TV with Together Unlocked and other live streams, we have the Together Disability Film Festival highlights. Each year we run the International Together Disability Film Festival in Stratford, bringing together a wide range of films by disabled filmmakers, as well as films about disability issues and disabled people. We always publish the programmes online with links to the films that are freely available. So we invite you to revisit our recent film festivals from the comfort of your own home and also to send us reviews of those films. And finally, you can sit back, relax and enjoy videos of past live performances, artist talks and creative workshops that we've produced in the past here. So, for example, from past festivals, we have documentation and films of creative dance workshops, street art performances, dances that the dance club have created, dance performances, and of course, we're continuing to add new activities on a regular basis. Right. So I think it's time that we bring on our next guest, the artist Hazel Brill. Just checking, guys. Can you hear me this time?
Yep, we're all good.
We're all good. Great. So I think what we'll probably do is bring Hazel on and then maybe put you on microphone only.
Sounds good.
Hi, Hazel.
Hello.
It's really good to see you. I don't think Robin and Josh have met you at all, and obviously, no, not our viewers. Would you like to just tell us a little bit about yourself as an artist first?
Yeah, sure. So I am an artist living in Newham. I make video installations which kind of combine lots of different mediums. So I use sculpture, animation, live action, so filming actors sometimes, and projection. So I project, it's called projection mapping. So it's when you project onto like shapes and objects so it fits perfectly. So that's the way I like tie it all together. And then sound. So basically anything I can do, put it into that. So yeah, that's the mediums I use as an artist.
Have you got a website?
Yeah, it's called www.hazelbrill.com. I need to update that actually. That's a good reminder. It's a job I've been meaning to do during lockdown. I haven't done it. Yeah.
I think we all do. Just to flag up as we haven't before, each program we have a highlights and links page that's just under the main Together Unlocked page on our website www.together2012.org.uk, and we'll include Hazel's website and anything we discuss now and anything we have discussed. The links will be there on that page probably by about 6 o'clock. Hazel, I'm fascinated about the image mapping. Before we move on to the things that we were going to talk about, last year we went to it was the Blue Dot Festival, wasn't it, for the 50th anniversary of the moon landing, and they'd mapped at midnight each night. They showed for about 4 hours a sort of edited highlights of the original countdown, and they mapped it onto the Jodrell Bank telescope, and I was absolutely fascinated, but have no idea how you do that.
Yeah. Well, so there's a software called Mad Mapper. That's the one I use. And I think that's the easiest one to use, really. But it does cost money, so that's the downside. But basically, I don't know if anyone who's watching or you guys have used Photoshop, it's similar. Even Paint, actually. It's not so different because it's just a case of moving like sections of images around until it fits the object. So you have to do it when the computer's attached to the projector so that you can kind of move them around in real time. And so yeah, it takes a bit of planning before you get to that stage because you have to work out what shapes you are going to make the little videos and stuff, and then do that in the editing of the video itself. And then when you use the projection mapping software, that's when you make it really perfect and stretch it. So it's a bit of warping involved. So it's kind of sometimes it stretches the pixels a little bit so it fits the object. But usually because it's quite far away, you can't really notice those things. But I have to say it's the most satisfying thing ever. It's just so nice. And it's also really nice when you're so used to, I spend a lot of time editing videos on my small computer, and which I do love editing, but it is a lot of kind of looking closely. And so when you see it in a big space, that's another really satisfying part of the process as well.
Yeah, I think it links back really nicely to our dance club because, as we said on the video, although we didn't explain the reasons why, the dance club started off on the basis they were going to do film dance because they knew they couldn't get together to do live performance. That could be don't have the social care to get there, can't depend on the wheelchair, managing to continue. But also there were a lot of mental health issues around live performance. And that kind of built up into leading on to wanting it to be masked and really focus on the movement and not on the face, because quite a few people said, well, the medication I'm on has changed my body and I don't like the changes that it's had. I just don't feel comfortable showing my face. But then when we looked at what you could do in terms of projection, that was always the idea, that it wasn't simply about being a little screen. It was about projecting on buildings and projecting on objects. So you know, one day in the hopefully not too distant future, but probably not this year, it will be really nice to look at some of that. And indeed, maybe we could be and should be looking at things that people are doing at home in terms of your film dances. If you produce something and you challenge us to try and get it onto a building, we might just be able to do that. Do you use, just one final question on this technique, Hazel, and we'll put the name of the software and the link up as well. Do you use models if it's a huge object? Because you were saying about having to use the projector to tweak it.
Yeah. Do you mean models to in order to plan out how it's going to work?
Doing Jodrell Bank, would you plan it all on a model of Jodrell Bank, or could you?
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea, and I think people who do that for like festivals and things definitely either make a little model or like a 3D computer generated model of the building and work it out that way. I don't usually do that because I probably should, but I just have found that I haven't needed to be honest. If I make sure the shapes are right, then it seems to work for me at the moment. But yeah, maybe if I was planning to do it in a really complex building, I would probably need to create a 3D computer generated model of it, perhaps. But
I remember Tracy and I, we went to see The Wall by Pink Floyd, well, Roger Waters. And in the show, they built, as the first half of the show went on, they built this massive wall across the front of the stage in kind of 2 meter by 1 meter blocks of polystyrene or something. And it worked that every time they put a block on, then the block had the projection on it. And so as the wall got more completed, the picture got completed, but it wasn't like shining on everybody that wasn't on a block, so it only picked up the blocks that was put on. I just thought that was how they did, whether they were kind of photosensitive or something, I don't know, but it was amazing.
Oh wow, maybe they back projected it and they were using that might have been what they were doing, using the material, what's it called, well I think it's just called back projection material, and then that's quite a good technique because it means it.
Yes,
yeah.
We have our 3-day film festival every December, usually at the Old Town Hall, Stratford, but there's always a virtual component, and this year will be wholly virtual. But I tend to do the projections myself, and I sit behind the screen, and that's right, it's a rear projection screen. But if we're asked to do live audio description, I'm the obvious person to do the audio description. And then I still have to watch the entire festival on my little laptop that it's from, because of course everything I can see is back to front, so I can do the audio description which side somebody comes in, and let alone sort of read anything. So yeah, I'm still squinting at it, but I think this is such an interesting conversation for us to develop over the next few months, because we talk a lot about filmmaking, but we're not as aware as we should be of all the different ways that we can distribute. We think about, we can put it on Twitter and we can put it on Instagram, and all of that's very new, but we can also think about, we could be projecting it on the town hall, we could be doing polystyrene bricks, we could be doing all sorts of things you didn't used to be able to do, and now you can. I mean, you would have needed a different projector for each image in the past, wouldn't you? Whereas now you can think of it almost like Zoom, that those different bits of the picture are being added to one projection stream. So
yeah,
so for your bricks, you could literally have had one projection stream, but with different little black bits being filled in as time went on. I know we've got a video that Hazel did talking about a much more simple technique. We have a video, I'm not sure if I can get it up, but I think what I'm going to do, Robin and Josh, is just hide you for a minute. I'll keep your mic on.
So this video just is by a young girl who's doing the Arts Award with me. So she made this herself. It's a work in progress.
Let me just see if I've got the right video up, Hazel, because it's
okay.
At the moment, nothing. I've got a blank screen. Let me try this one. Hang on. We can't always guarantee. No, I don't think. Let me have one more look. But I don't think that's going to come up. What we have got, though, is a picture. This is one of your young people, I think, Hazel.
Yeah. So this is an artist called Jane Waters, and she's quite prolific on Instagram. So she really uses it as a sketchbook, I feel, and posts a lot of her drawings each week. So she mainly draws. So this is a really detailed drawing. It's quite abstract patterns, really intricate lines and dots. It's made up of swirls. It's like pink, blue, yellow on a dark navy paper. I think it's quite striking. It kind of looks like different things. It's one of those things that it kind of looks like a peacock, a flower, some sort of plant, or yeah.
Let me bring up, see what else we've got here that will actually obey and come.
Okie dokie. Yeah, this is a little memory box. So I did a workshop for Newham History Month where people used a container they've found around the house, which was either going to be chucked in the rubbish or recycling. So they kind of saved it and decorated it. So they all drew pictures of places that they missed and loved in Newham. And this person, he's 6 years old. I loved what he did. He really loves this laundrette in his area, which he missed going to. And he drew this amazing picture of all the different machines and was describing what he liked about it as well. And instead of kind of collaging it and pasting it onto the outside of the container, which a lot of the other participants did, he decided to scrunch it up and put it inside the pot, almost like the pot is a washing machine, and then decorated the outside with other stickers that he had around the house. And I just thought that was such a nice idea. I really wouldn't have thought of that. It's really nice. So yeah, that's his memory box that he made.
Sorry, just waiting for Robin and Josh to join us back in the stream. Not sure quite what happened there or even why we have a blank screen with nothing in it at the moment, but that's just the intricacies of the internet. So tell us about the work that you've been doing, because you started with us in January, didn't you, Hazel? And by February, the job you'd come to do had effectively stopped because it was very much about face-to-face work with young disabled people in Newham only, and it's kind of completely changed, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's transformed like a lot, most things really. So now there's more of a focus on social media and kind of getting a community together online. So that's meant there's still lots of people on Newham, but also people joining on Instagram and Facebook from other parts of London and the country. So that's been really nice to kind of keep communication going with people. I found Instagram has been really good for that, actually. And then I'm doing an arts award qualification online. So that's an offer where at the moment it's one-to-one kind of workshops and meetings over Skype or Zoom, where people can do their arts award.
Yeah, maybe I should just say a little bit more about the Arts Award. They're nationally recognised qualifications. They sit on the qualifications framework. So once you get to bronze level, that sits on level 1 of the qualifications framework. And when you get to gold, you actually get uppers points towards university. But there are levels below that which start for much younger children. And that was really created in response to what Robin was talking about earlier, the sort of lack of the arts on the national curriculum now. It's delivered by Trinity College, which is an independent organisation of the Arts Council now, but Together 2012 is an arts award centre. So yes, we have an offer. We obviously have to restrict it. But if you're a young disabled person who is in the shielding group or being homeschooled, then Hazel can indeed take you through the Arts Award qualifications one-to-one. We're hoping for some groups as that increases, because we have only got Hazel for 2 days a week and she's got all these other things to do as well. I know, did you say you've been making some TikTok videos or started looking at TikTok? Because that's another thing we've talked about on a Monday, isn't it? The joy of the very, very short video.
Yeah, I quite like the challenge of having a time limit. I sometimes think restrictions can kind of give you more ideas somehow. so yeah, we've started the TikTok, which is fun. You have to be careful for me because it's quite addictive. There's something about the platform because you just scroll down and the videos automatically play. And anyway, so yeah, so we started putting up videos of the Charlie and the Sea Monsters, and then I'm going to continue posting content on there. See how that goes. That's fairly new. I made an account last week, so yeah, hoping that one goes well.
Yeah, what's your take on all this, Josh? You know, young producer.
I mean, I don't have a huge amount of experience with TikTok, other than kind of seeing them, because I think it's cross-posted nowadays anyway, kind of seeing TikTok videos on Twitter, or either people that have made them and they're putting on their Twitter account, or people sharing them. So one of the nice things around kind of social media and online stuff is it's so easy to kind of get things out there to kind of many different audiences at once. Apparently, I know that it can be quite addictive. Someone that I follow on Twitter, I think yesterday, tweeted that, because she lives in America, that if they ban TikTok, then her and her husband will have to talk to each other at night, which I thought was quite funny. Just sitting there in their lounge, just kind of scrolling through TikTok. But yeah, I think kind of what you're saying around the kind of time constraints on the video, and kind of what that can lead to creatively, kind of having to think of solutions, I think is quite interesting. And kind of what those challenges, what those constraints kind of lead to in a creative sense, I think can be quite interesting to kind of explore.
Can I ask a question, not about TikTok at all, but about the Arts Award? Does it include writing?
It can do, yeah. It's really open, so it's kind of tailored around the individual's interests. So if they are into poetry, for example, that can be a focus of the Arts Award, because that is an arts.
Well, somebody not very far from us is she's really into cosplay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but she wants to write about. She wants to basically write her own book and create her own characters, and she's doing lots of. I'm not going to give anything away other than she's doing lots of character development, which is kind of quite intense for a 13-year-old to be thinking about. But I just wondered if that would then kind of fit under the banner of the Arts Award.
Well, we would love to have Emily doing the Arts Award in any way she wishes, but on a broader sense, what Trinity and the Arts Council point out is that if it's creative, it counts to the Arts Award.
Okay.
It might be nail art, it might be cupcake decorating, it might be gaming, it might be car design. It's having the focus on the creative bit. You know, actually baking the cupcakes wouldn't count as an Arts Award thing, but doing really creative things with icing would. You know, sort of
cool.
per se wouldn't count, but the nail art would count. You know, the gaming depends on the programming, but certainly all of the character development, the costuming, it's very much based around leadership as well, which I think is interesting because young people are so often, particularly young disabled people, are not encouraged to develop that kind of autonomy, let alone a sense of leadership. And it's also very much action based. What you're marked on is what you've actually done, not how you've presented it. But the documentation, the way it's recorded, is the evidence. So effectively, somebody would do an Arts Award with Hazel, and what they're actually doing, you know, a physical thing, it could be a dance. You know, it's the dancing, it's not writing about the dancing, but having photographs of those dances, having videos of those dances, having a record, it's like a recording of a discussion that the young people have had at the beginning about how they're going to choreograph it. So they're not really like school qualifications in any way, shape, or form, or even like a full NVQ, but they are very much, yeah, they're very much action based, evidence based. Sorry, we've all got distracted.
Yeah, no, it sounds
Hazel, but sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
It's all right. No, it's it all sounds kind of really, really exciting. Like you're saying that the Gold Award gets you UCAS points, did you say?
Yes. So if there's anybody, and I mean, we know young disabled people ourselves who had a university place or didn't really get into where they wanted to get into this year and can't go this year anyway because they're in the shielding group, then yes, you could do a gold award and top your points up. I forget how many points, but we could always answer that if you wanted to email us. If you've got any queries about our Join In From Home programme, including our specific offer for young people and families, just email us at info@together2012.org.uk, and I'm going to put that up on the bottom of the screen as well. So thank you very much indeed, Hazel. I think we'll be talking to Hazel again in 3 or 4 weeks' time, and then she's going to be updating us regularly. We also hope to show more of the young people's work. And what we'll do is the pictures and film that we couldn't get to play today for whatever reason, we will show on Friday, which is our Visual Arts Day. And I'm going to get a bit more information from Hazel so we can talk about that. The pictures we've shown today will be embedded on our highlights and links page. And then on Wednesday, we will have all sorts of our usual Wednesday things. We will indeed be talking about virtual sport and gaming. Principally, it will be our pop-up poetry day, and we hope finally to have a phone-based pop-up poetry workshop running on Wednesday morning. It's also virtual nature watch day with Julie's assistant's dog Precious. It's our virtual Paralympics, the Clockwork Paralympics, where we race for the right of our teddy bear to wear a medal. Ours, as usual, does not have one, which just underlines the fact that the Surgeoners are the most competitive family in the world. If they can't swim, they'll still be finding ways to win racing clockwork toys for teddy bears to wear medals. What else have we got coming up this week, Julie? Or is there anything else you'd like to say now?
No, not really. It was great, Hazel, that you could find the time to join us today, and I think the information about the Arts Award is very important. I think it's also useful to remember that, as Hazel was saying, it doesn't have to be written. It can be pictures, it can be films. You don't have to have a high level of literacy or being able to speak loudly or at all well. Sort of it is very, very open in terms of who can take part. Isn't that right?
Yeah, definitely. And I found it's really creates a lot of a momentum for someone's idea. That's what I've been finding with the people I've been working with so far, which I think is really great.
They're very much can-do awards as opposed to can't do. And people have done these awards who are completely non-verbal. So if you're sitting out there thinking my young person couldn't even begin to do an arts award, well, have a discussion with us. But it doesn't really matter because all of Hazel's work is for all young disabled people and their families. The Arts Award is just part of it. And in the same way, we would love to see any artwork from you, whatever age you are. So please do keep sending it in along with your poems, your videos. You'll find lots of ideas on the Join In From Home programme, but we would really like to see anything you're doing. If you have a show coming up, you have a new project on, you have a production, get in touch. We'd love to have you come on and speak about it. Any final words, Julie, before we hand over to the West Midlands?
No, not at all. Again, happy birthday, Robin. I hope you have a very good rest of the day. And thank everybody for taking part today and watching us.
Yes, I wish we could sing happy birthday without it kind of blowing the speakers and
Really, our speakers are not up to it. It's fine.
I'm quite sure your speakers are not up to me singing happy birthday. I don't think anybody's speakers are up to me singing happy birthday. You know, Hazel's Come to Music Club, which we would usually run on the first Friday of each month, but plug, we now do on the first Thursday of each month by Zoom. But no, we will just wish you a very happy birthday, Robin. A very happy afternoon to everybody else out there. Thank you again, Hazel. and we'll see you again on Wednesday at 3 o'clock. The recording of this show with built-in captions and enhanced audio will usually be up by about 7:30, but it can take as long as 9:30 before the captions are fully functioning on YouTube. So on that happy note, we will all say goodbye.
Bye bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye.